Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on June the 23rd, 2020. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. So in terms of data, we didn't really have a whole lot today. We do have manufacturing PMI numbers out of Japan coming up. And then on Tuesday here, we do have a whole bunch of PMI numbers. First, out of the Eurozone here, manufacturing, so services PMI numbers as well as manufacturing PMI numbers. And these numbers are expected to go up, of course, because with the economies opening up, we would expect purchasing managers to actually buy more stuff. So that makes sense. Now, if the numbers don't quite come in as expected, it's not going to be a big deal because at this point, even if the numbers miss the mark by a little bit, it's not going to be a big concern. So even if the numbers come in below expectations, I would not expect a negative impact on the market as a result of that. And then PMI and services, manufacturing and services PMI numbers out of UK as well as US. So basically PMI numbers from a whole bunch of different countries here between now and tomorrow afternoon. And then we do have Reserve Bank of New Zealand official cash rate as well as the statement here. I'm not expecting them to make too many changes here. I think at this point, it's more about what the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is expecting in terms of when the economy is likely to get back to normal, how long it will take, and that type of stuff. So unless they are totally dovish and they think the economy will take a long time to recover, I think it will be fine. I'm not expecting any interest rate cuts. They're already at fairly low interest. But other than that, not much in terms of the impact here, unless they drastically change something. And like I said, I don't expect that. So let's go into our charts here. Okay, so we'll start off by taking a look at our euro dollar here. So today we see that there was a big update here for euro. So last week was a bit volatile and we saw a market go back and forth. There were also concerns in regards to the increasing number of coronavirus cases that were showing up around the world. China had to close down a lot of markets as well as schools in order to prevent the second wave of virus cases that they were seeing. And also we had news that in the US, many states, as they opened up, they were seeing an increase in the number of coronavirus cases. And the market didn't quite like that very much. And we did see a bit of a downward move in the stock markets. However, now that we are past that, we also had some extraordinary things going on last week in regards to the options expiries and stuff. Now that they're all behind us, so looks like the market is basically deciding to ignore the increase in the number of coronavirus cases at this point. So seems like things are more optimistic right now in terms of stock market, and that optimism is leading to risk on sentiment in the market. When we have risk on sentiment in the market, we generally see that the risky assets do well. So our stock market tends to do well. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, basically all the dollar crosses tend to go up. And this is where we are seeing, this is what we're seeing happening right now. So today we do have a bullish engulfing candle close here for euro. And as such, I will look for a follow through in that. So in terms of a pullback, I will look at it for a potential pullback into 1.1230. And then if the price holds above, I will look for a price to continue the move higher. So bias here is bullish. And in terms of the target, next target here is 1.1300. And then above that, we are looking at 1.1320. So bias here is bullish for euro dollar. So this is the move I would expect here. Having said that, though, one thing that we do need to basically keep in mind is if we see a substantial increase in the coronavirus cases, whether that's from the US, from China, or Brazil, or anywhere else, if the numbers start to increase all of a sudden, that will be problematic and we could see a sudden shift in the risk sentiment. So just keep an eye out for news in regards to the coronavirus cases and the markets, because that shift in sentiment can catch us off guard. So just keep that in mind. But for now, bias is bullish for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, similar move in pound dollar as well. We have seen bullish candle close for the day. So prices into resistance. So just be careful with that, but bias is bullish here. Next target is 1.2565. And then above that, we're looking at 1.2620. So bullish bias here for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, this one as well. We have seen this close quite strongly here as well. We have a nice bullish candle close, and this is also looking bullish. Next target is 0.6980, and then above that we're looking at 0.7030. So bias here is bullish. In terms of a pullback, I would look at 0.6880 as a potential pullback level before it continues higher. So bias here is bullish for Aussie dollar. Similarly for New Zealand dollar as well, we have seen a big bullish engulfing candle close here. Now prices into resistance, so just be mindful of that, but still looking quite strong here. Next target is 0.6540, and then above that 0.6580. So bias here is bullish for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this one in line with the rest of the stuff here. This is looking bearish. We have a bearish engulfing candle close. So we are likely to see a drop here, and target is a 1.3400. So bearish bias here for dollar CAD. So I'm looking for price to drop further here. In terms of a pullback, I would look at potentially into 1.3550 for a potential pullback. So for now, bias here is bearish, and this is the move that I would keep an eye out for. All right, so let's take a look at our commodities here, starting with silver. Silver was interesting today. We did see price go up, and since then it has come back down. So here we have a doji for today. In this case, as we can see, price is pulling back. Now we may get a bit more of a pullback into the 17.85 level, so keep an eye on that. But if it holds below, chances are we are coming back into that level there. So for now, bias is bearish, and if it holds below 17.85, I'm looking for it to come back down into 17.55 and then 17.30. So bearish bias here for silver. Gold here, gold was interesting. We did see price drop and then it has pulled back since then. So we have a big long-legged doji here. So in this case, this will be interesting. I am a neutral to bullish on this. Now we could get a drop here and then a further move to the upside. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But at this point, bias is neutral to bullish. Next target here is 1765, and then we have 1780. So bullish to neutral bias here for gold. Next one, oil here. Oil is looking bullish, and this is where Canadian dollar has done well. And in terms of our target, next target is 43.50. So bullish bias here for oil. Copper has done really well today. We have a bullish engulfing candle close. It has managed to close past the resistance level. So next target now is 2.66 here. So bias is bullish for copper. Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is interesting. It's still trading in that range here. And at this point, we do have a bullish engulfing candle close. But as we can see, there are multiple levels of support resistance in this area. So right now, I would say bullish bias here for Bitcoin. But if it goes through this 95.50 level, then chances are it can drop further. So keep an eye on this level. If it holds above, then we're likely to go through. But should it break through here, then we are coming back down here. So bias is bullish, but with caution. S&P 500, this has been interesting as well. We have seen a nice bullish candle close for the day here. So looking for price to go up further. And first target is 31.65. And then above that, we are looking at 61. So, but sorry, not 61. My apologies here. 31.65, and then about 3,200 is the second target. So bullish bias here for S&P 500. And then Nasdaq, of course, is continuing higher. It's wanting to go through the highs right now. We do have a strong bullish candle close here, but just keep in mind price is into resistance here. So if it doesn't hold above, we could see things turn. For now, though, this one is looking bullish. And in terms of our targets here, now we are into all-time highs here. So right now it's at 10,150-ish level. And next one here, we're looking at 10,280. So bullish bias here for Nasdaq. Dow Jones here, this one looking quite bullish as well. And next target here is 26,440, which is the tip of this candle here. So bullish bias here for DAX. First target 26,440, second target 26,800. And then we have DAX here. DAX also, we see turned around from the support here. So looking for it to go higher. 12,480 is the first target here. So bullish bias here for DAX. And then Footsie here, Footsie is still trading in this range. As we can see, price hasn't really done much. So this one is neutral. I'm still looking to see how price reacts to the top and the bottom of the range. We see that price did touch the top of the range here, but it didn't manage to close there. So we may get a retest of the high. And then if it holds below, we're looking for a drop. 6165 will be the target here, but bias is neutral. On the other hand, though, if price goes through the resistance and we actually break out of the range, then I will look for price to continue towards the high of 6,500. So for now, bias is neutral for Footsie. And then we have Nikkei here. Nikkei is looking bullish. So candle close for the day is bullish, but keep in mind, we are right into this resistance level here. So if price is not able to go through this resistance of 22,700, we're likely to see a drop back down, and we could see price go towards 22,000. So the target here is 23,200 only if it breaks through this resistance. So if it were to break through, that's the type of move I would expect. Now, we are into resistance. If it doesn't go through, we're looking for a move lower. So right now, bias is bullish to neutral here, because if it doesn't break through, we're looking for a drop. For now, though, once price gets through, we're looking at 23,200 as the next target. So bullish bias for Nikkei. All right, any questions before we wrap it up?
No, all good, Raman. Thank you.
Awesome. So that's it. You can, sorry, was there a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
For now, let's take an example like the EURJPY.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, like the session is ended and it didn't pull back. So usually when I'm getting in this deals, once I get in, it's reversed. But even here, like it didn't pull back. So what's usually what we should do if it didn't pull back?
So with the pullback, so normally I look for pullbacks, right? Most times there will be pullbacks. Now, sometimes what happens is the trend is quite strong and there is hardly any pullback. So in that case, basically, you're either too late or if you get in, then it may pull back. So it's hard to tell. And especially right now, because market is very volatile. So everybody's waiting to see basically what's going on with the virus. Are the number of cases increasing and whatnot? And that will have a big impact on all these yen crosses, right? So at this point, price is holding above. It's not looking like it wants to pull back. Like that's the shallowest pullback ever, and which means the trend is to the upside. So it's barely stopping. So we may not get much of a pullback, unfortunately. But sometimes what can happen is we may see a pullback towards the later part of the Asian session, so before the London comes in, right? So we'll have to wait and see is essentially what I'm trying to say here. The momentum does look like
some of the profit taking. That's what yeah. So do you depend on the RSI on this one? Because all the RSI is showing like it's overbought.
No, I don't really. I mean, what you see is what I use here. I don't really use ton of indicators. So I just have some pivot points laid here, but usually it's just price action that I'm looking at. So what I'm looking at here, for example, is that price is trying to break out of this, right? So it's trying to break through. This is an important support resistance level. So if price were going to turn, I would expect it to turn here. Because if we take a look at our the strategy, so one of the strategies that you may have heard me say over many times would be price comes in, breaks through, right? Back test of the level and then drops, right? So that's a back test, right? So next time when price comes here, we would expect this, right? The problem now though is that it does not look like it wants to stop, right? So if you take a look, and right now our markets here are very much tied into the stock markets. So if you take a look at S&P 500, this doesn't want to turn either, right? Like this one is looking very strong. So if this doesn't turn, the yen crosses won't turn. So it's one of those where sometimes when the momentum is there, we may just not get a pullback. So most days though, I do look for a pullback. So the daily pivot point here is our pullback level. So normally I look for a pullback. So if you were to put our, all right, so this is the move for today. Approximately right there.
38 or 23, but
so yeah, see pivot point generally aligns to 38.2% pullback. So that's why pivot point is a good rule of thumb, and that's why I use pivot point. So I don't normally talk Fibonacci's because I know pivot point is 38.2. So this is why when we are looking at trending moves, we are generally looking at 38 our daily pivot point for pullbacks, right? So that means that I'm looking for 38.2 pullback and then a move to the upside generally. That's the rule of thumb in a trending market, right? So when we have a strong trend, it may only pull back 25%. right? Or 23.6%, whatever you want, like less than, basically, it will hold above here. So generally, so those are that's how I kind of look at my pullback levels. Either I'm looking for a shallow pullback or a decent pullback of 38.2% in a trending market, right? So in this case, the trend is towards the upside here. So I'm looking for either a move like this, or I will look for a 38.2, which is our regular pullback, and then a continuation move to the upside. But yes, there will be times when the market just wants to continue going and it won't even bother pulling back. But if you're going to look at pullbacks, generally it will pull back in the afternoon session in the New York, or it will pull back like right now, generally should be pulling back, and then the new move starts. But the time between towards the later part of the Asian session and just before the London, that's where the pullbacks could happen as well. Because London is really what sets the pace for the day.
For the rest of the day. Yeah.
Yes. And then a lot of times we'll see New York will continue. And again, like once before the open of the New York session, we tend to see that pullback as well. So you'll see everything starts to pull back and then resets when the New York session starts. So we may just see a pullback and then a continuation, which is essentially what we saw today in our markets. We saw last night in the Asian session, prices just took off. And then once our New York, so London came in, London pushed them higher, and then we had, let me just get rid of that. So then we had a bit of a pullback here in the beginning of the New York session, and then it just took off. So that tends to be the case where we'll see Asian started the session a little bit, and then we pulled back before the London opened, and then London took it higher and kind of went sideways, and then our New York basically continued the move.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd keep an eye on it if the momentum is high, like when the market gets into a solid risk on mode. And that has been the case over the last little while where market was just pushing through. In that case, we may not get a pullback.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.